In 2013, Forbes gave her a title no African woman had ever held, the continent's first female billionaire. 7 years later, 715,000 leaked documents took it back. This is the story of Isabel dos Santos, daughter of a president, chair of a state oil company, and now, according to her own government, the target of a 12-count criminal indictment she says was fabricated to destroy her. She has never been convicted of anything, anywhere. She has also never gone home. This is the African Empire Files. File number 4. Isabel dos Santos. Isabel dos Santos was born in 1973 in Baku, then part of the Soviet Union, daughter of José Eduardo dos Santos, who 3 years later would become president of a newly independent Angola and hold that office for 38 years. She was educated in England, boarding school in Kent, then an electrical engineering degree at King's College London. By her own account, and by the account of nearly everyone who covered her rise, she built her first companies with genuine technical training behind her, not just a famous surname. In 1998, she co-founded Unitel, Angola's first private mobile network. It would not be her last venture. Over the following 2 decades, Dos Santos built stakes across banking, diamonds, cement, satellite television, and a Portuguese industrial conglomerate, an empire that, on paper, looked entirely her own. In June 2016, her father appointed her chair of Sonangol, Angola's state oil company, and the single largest source of the country's wealth. She was the first woman, and the first family member, ever to run it. Reporting since has alleged, and Angolan prosecutors would later formally charge, that her rise inside the country's state institutions wasn't built on merit alone. Insider access, no-bid contracts, offshore companies in Malta, Mauritius, Hong Kong, and Dubai, and, prosecutors allege, forged documents used to move state funds into private accounts. She denies every part of it and has never been convicted of any of it in any country. "80 days after her father left office in 2017, his successor removed her from Sonangol entirely. The empire she'd built stayed hers. The state's own machinery, for the first time, did not. In January 2020, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists published what it called Luanda Leaks. Over 715,000 internal documents, leaked by a whistleblower protection group, examined by more than 120 journalists across 36 news organizations for 8 months, before a single word ran. What the documents allegedly mapped: a network of over 400 companies, spread across 41 countries, 94 of them registered in offshore secrecy jurisdictions. 2 of the world's biggest consulting firms, ICIJ found, had been paid millions to help build parts of the structure. Both said afterward they cut ties the moment the reporting broke. Angolan courts froze her local accounts before the documents even published. Within weeks, she was named a formal suspect. Within a year, Portugal had frozen roughly $550 million more, and Forbes had quietly removed her from its billionaires list altogether. The title she'd held for 7 years was, in the space of 12 months, simply gone. What followed was not a single trial, but a slow-moving siege across 4 countries at once. In November 2022, Interpol confirmed a red notice for her arrest, requested by Angolan prosecutors, a global request for law enforcement to locate and provisionally hold her, not, technically, an international arrest warrant itself, but close enough in practice that it has shaped where she can safely travel ever since. In December 2023, London's High Court froze over £700 million of her assets in a separate civil case. A month into 2024, Angola filed a formal indictment, 12 criminal charges, alleging roughly $219 million in losses to the state during her time at Sonangol. In November 2024, the United Kingdom went further still, sanctioning her directly, a travel ban and asset freeze over what British officials called the systematic abuse of state positions to embezzle at least £350 million. She has called every part of it, repeatedly and publicly, a fabrication, a political vendetta by an Angolan government intent on rewriting her father's legacy. "I have not," she has said, "been found guilty of any corruption, in any court, in any country." That claim, whatever else is true of it, has held for 6 years running. And in November 2025, Angola's own Supreme Court handed her a real, if partial, win, dismissing 3 of the remaining 11 charges outright. 8 charges still stand. The case is not over. It is also, by any honest reading, no longer a foregone conclusion. Through all of it, Dos Santos has lived in Dubai, a city with no extradition treaty compelling her return, and, increasingly, the address of choice for a certain kind of contested African fortune. The red notice remains active there in name. In practice, she moves freely enough to keep posting, publicly, from restaurants and poolside terraces across the emirate. The pressure hasn't let up. Through the first half of 2026, Angolan authorities pursued her assets into Cyprus. A court there froze bank accounts in June, and by August had rejected her legal challenge to that freeze entirely. She has formally applied, separately, to challenge and lift the Interpol notice itself, arguing it was built on false information from the start. Whether that application succeeds is, as of this filing, still unknown. What's certain is the shape of the last 6 years. A woman who built one of Africa's largest private fortunes from inside the machinery of her father's state, and who has spent every year since trying to prove, in court after court, that none of it was stolen. Nobody can say, with real confidence, what she's worth today. Estimates run from $1.5 billion to over $3 billion. A spread that says less about her accountants than about how much of her fortune sits frozen, disputed, or simply unaccounted for across 4 legal systems at once. Not every loss in this file was financial. In October 2020, her husband, the art collector Sindika Dokolo, died in a diving accident off the coast of Dubai. A genuine accident, Dubai police concluded, with no criminal suspicion attached. It happened in the middle of the same storm that had already frozen both their fortunes. Whatever else this file is about, that part of it is simply a family that lost someone in the worst year of their public lives. She has denied every charge, every allegation, every characterization of how she built what she built. No court, anywhere, has yet ruled otherwise. Whether that makes her innocent or simply unconvicted is a question this file cannot answer for you. 7 years a billionaire, unlike any woman before her on this continent. 6 years fighting to prove she deserved it. At the African Empire Files, this file stays open.